In today's video, I'm going to be talking about taking responsibility for your excuses. If you haven't been here before, welcome. My name is Shameen Miller. I make videos around fasting, wellness, and anything about living an amazingly exciting, happy life. Today's video is talking about the excuses that I see all the time in the fasting community about why they break their fast. I'm not saying that necessarily all excuses are bad at all, but it's talking about taking responsibility for them. But before I get into that, let me tell you some of the common excuses though I do hear. I couldn't stop eating. The food was right there and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It was just sitting there like right in front of me. I had to. I had to. Oh, my family forced me to eat. Really? Did they actually force the food down your throat? Did they tell you that you had to do it or they're gonna kill you? Oh my God, it's my period and my PMS symptoms and I just couldn't handle it and I had to eat. I just couldn't stop and I just had to do it. Yes, that might have been a little bit harsh, but in the reality of things, it is true. If you want to achieve your goal, you have to be dedicated to the process and you have to be dedicated and strong, and especially use willpower in situations that I just acted out. For example, if you had just had surgery, let's say, and you need to take antibiotics or certain types of pills to help you heal, even though yes, there's dry fasting, which could help you heal, but sometimes the dry fasting is not enough and you need to just actually take certain pills. When I got my breast done last year, I took the pain meds because they hurt a boatload. And I put my fasting to the side because I knew that in time, when I was able to get back to it and I felt healed and more comfortable to do it again, I can go back to it. Yes, there are people that are really strong and that can work through all that pain. But sometimes, I don't want to work through that pain. Like when I get my period every single month and I get really bad cramps, especially on the first day, I pop that Advil and I'm not afraid to do it because you know what? I would rather have the Advil in my system and eventually clear it out through the whole autophagy process instead of dealing with a day of stomach cramps all day. Like I'm just not going to do it. So there's times when you got to listen to your body. Another example, see if you're really sick, like really sick, then of course, break your fast. That's cool. There's nothing wrong with it. At least you're listening to your body and you know that you don't have the ability to actually do that at that time. And lastly, if you're going in for surgery, if you got to eat before the surgery, well, usually you can't eat before surgery, but you know what I mean. If you're going to have some surgery or whatever it is and you need to fast or whatever, you need to eat because that is what the doctor is telling you to do, then listen to the instructions, okay? There are times where not fasting is okay and you put aside the fast so you can take care of your health in a way that maybe the fasting cannot do it in that period of time. Does that make sense? When it comes to taking on a lifestyle of fasting and living a fasting focused lifestyle, it is so important to always have your why. I tell the people that join my Rolling 48s group, please write down your goal on a piece of paper of why you are doing this. It is so important because if you have no goal, you're literally wandering aimlessly because you don't then know why you are doing it. My goal for this Rolling 48s and this lifestyle for me is I want to be really lean and I'm working to put on muscle on my body. And that everything that I do around this fast, around my refeed, around my training is to make sure that I hit that goal. And I work on that every single day. If you do not have your why, guys, then it's gonna be really easy to just fall back to old habits and old patterns because that's what your brain is used to. Your brain wants you to be comfortable. Your brain wants you to feel safe. And it's not until you actually push it and change the habits day after day and you just do little by little, and keep on chipping away at it and chipping away, then eventually your brain will be like, okay, this is the new way. Now this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go forward on this new path. One more point before I tell you about how to take responsibility for your excuses and really what that actually means is people's refeed, okay? On the refeeds, I see many comments everywhere, and I hear them, that their refeed was shit, that they couldn't stop eating, that they just kept on craving more and more bad food, and they just really messed it up and they ended up eating thousands of calories that they just didn't really need. So I'm gonna tell you two major reasons why most people actually give the excuse of messing up on their refeed. And it's quite simple if you just kind of step back for a minute. And here, I'm gonna tell you right now. First is consuming calorically dense, low nutritional value food. So what does that mean? Candies, chocolate, chips, pizza, sometimes burgers, but not always, French fries, muffins, donuts. So these are high caloric foods with low nutritional value, and most of them, with the exception of like the pizza and the chips, are really high in sugar. If you're constantly feeding your body sugar, you're gonna have that insulin spike. It's gonna come down, and then your body's like, yo, I want some more of that. And you keep on going into this cycle. And so when people say they mess up on their refeed, I always like to ask, well, what did you eat on your refeed? Sometimes, yeah, maybe you do need a little bit of sugar, but if you need a little bit of sugar, then you will just have enough that you need, not to just gorge yourself on all the sugar that is there. So that means that you still then have a problem with sugar addiction. And so what you need to do is do more fast and to not refeed on it, because once you get rid of it out of your system, the longer that it's out of your system, your taste buds will begin to change, your brain signals will be a lot different, and you won't crave it as much anymore. On my refeeds, sometimes I'll have some chocolate covered rice cakes, which I really enjoy, or I'll have actual just chocolate, dark chocolate, usually it's with stevia in it, but sometimes with regular sugar as well. But I'm able to limit myself to a small amount because I know that that's all that I really need, or all that I really want, and I don't want to be gorging on myself. Because if I end up finding that I'm gorging on myself and I want like a big bag of chips or a bunch of chocolate or whatever it is, or just a whole bunch of bad foods, there's something else going on, and I need to figure out what it is that's actually going on for me wanting to self-sabotage my success. The second thing, and this is a very, very simple one, a lot of people still have the trigger foods in their house. I tell them, please make sure that any foods that you feel like you are going to gorge on or that you have no control around, get them out of the house. You don't need them there. If they're there, it's really easy. It's like a heroin addict having heroin put away in the cupboard when they want to try and actually quit heroin. So just think about it. If you really want that snack and say it's cold outside, you gotta have the thought, okay, I really want this. You gotta get up from the couch or get up from whatever you're doing. You have to go to the closet. You gotta get your coat on. You gotta zip up your coat. You gotta put some gloves on. Then you gotta put down and figure out and put some shoes on. Put the shoes on. Then you gotta go get your wallet and then probably your phone because you don't want to leave the house without your phone. You're gonna walk to the door. You gotta open it. Then you gotta make sure that you lock the door from the outside, etc., etc., etc. You get my point. There are all these different things that need to happen from the time that you have the idea of actually want to eat the bad food item, the high calorie, low nutritional value item. There's a big time gap, and all these decisions that are happening from wanting the chocolate to going to the store and getting the chocolate and actually come back and eating it. Okay, so get that shit out of your house. There's so many other excuses that I've seen around this too. It's like, oh, well, I have kids in the house. Oh, well, my husband like this. Oh, well, this. Oh, well, that. Well, there are ways that you can figure it out. If you really want to hit your goal and you want to achieve your dreams, if you want to achieve to get that body you've always been waiting for, if you want to improve your health, and have it the best that it's ever been in your whole life, you got to make these sacrifices and you got to make these changes. You got to talk about the people that you are around, that, hey, this is what I'm doing it for my life, I'm doing it for my health, and you can't do anything to stop me. We're gonna now put mechanisms in place in the house to make sure that this is not gonna be a problem for me, because I accept the fact and I know that having this stuff around is a problem for me still. It takes time and you will grow and you will get better, but by doing this and having the balls to stand up for yourself, it gets easier. It gets easier, okay? The last point I would just wanna say is that I talked about self-sabotaging behavior. So there are times when people see that they haven't really changed that much and they kind of get this, oh, woe is me. Nothing is changing. It's not working. What's the point? Fuck it. I'm just gonna eat whatever I want. So as I mentioned a few times already now before, you are self-sabotaging what you are doing. You are self-sabotaging your success because you are not putting in the proper mechanisms in place to help you succeed on this journey. So as I said, there are excuses and there are acceptable excuses as well. But this video is called Taking Responsibility for your excuses. I'm gonna give you a good example where I made my own excuse or my reasoning, whatever you wanna call it, but I took responsibility for it and didn't feel bad about it at all. I just knew that I had to make a conscious decision with what I'm doing. So I'm gonna give you the example. So there was this one day I had to ask myself, what's acceptable for me to break my fast early? Okay, because obviously I'm leading this rolling 48. I have this goal. I'm not gonna quit. I'm not gonna quit. My mind is made up and that is it. So there was a few weeks ago on a Sunday where I was gonna be breaking my fast at the 38-hour mark. And my goals at that time was 40 hours of fasting. I broke the fast early because it was my refeed day, and me and Peter were going to the gym in the afternoon, and we had a reservation for a Brazilian steakhouse that was near the gym, and they close at 4 o'clock because and they open again at 8 o'clock for dinner. Obviously, I didn't want to be eating at 8 o'clock at nighttime because that was going to be too late, and I wanted to make sure we at least got to be there for the last seating. So I made the decision that, okay, I'm going to break my fast a little bit earlier so we can actually go to this Brazilian steakhouse. I can have like amazing refeed, and so that I can actually have give me the stuff in my body to help nourish me from my workout. So was this acceptable to me? Well, it ended up being acceptable because what had happened is a few days before, I inadvertently fasted 44 hours just because of the timing in the day and what was happening. So I had already bucked on extra time on my fast from before, and at the end of it all, they ended up balancing each other out, and it netted to 0, so it was okay. So when you decide to make an excuse or a concession, let's say, what are the guidelines for yourself? What are the guidelines that you are going to create for yourself to allow you to make this concession, this exception, this excuse, exceptional excuse? You have to ask yourself, what is acceptable to you? Because maybe what's acceptable to you, maybe might not be acceptable to me, but you have to take responsibility for your actions because you are the one living in the body. You are the one doing the fasting. You are the one that's taking control of your life. So you got to take responsibility for that, right? You have to ask yourself, are my deviations something that I can respect myself for? And are my deviations and exceptions made knowing that I tried my best? So for example, say something really special comes up. You've got an anniversary, you've got a wedding, you've got just something special in your life. And whatever the special is special to you. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But you allow for it as long as you believe and you know that it's an acceptable deviation from your plan. If you do that, then it's like, okay, fine. This is good. I'm making this decision to break my fast early or to maybe not even fast at all this day because I have this. But then you've got to ask yourself, okay, what mechanisms did I put in place? What have I done to help kind of balance it out? Because at the end of the day, the universe, everything needs balance. Everything needs balance from one side to the other. In my example, I ended up balancing out my 38-hour fast with a 44-hour fast. So it kind of just netted to 0 and it worked out and everything was great. Didn't gain any extra weight. Perfect. Your goal is to go as long as you can on the plan without making any deviations, without making any excuses and exceptions. And when you know it is ready for you to make an exception, then you do that. It's okay. You know, I'm not gonna get mad at you. I'm not gonna get mad at you. Nobody's gonna get mad at you. But you have to promise yourself to accept the decision that you made and actually not get pissed off at yourself and feel guilty for it. So when I look at comments on the internet about why people fail on their fast and they refeed early or they just refeed terribly, they write it out to other people to read so that they can have validations for their excuses and a validation of their weakness to say that it's okay. But you know what, guys? It's not okay. It's not okay because you make it seem like you're helpless, like you were helpless in the entire situation. You had no control over the situation. But 9 times out of 10, you have control of this situation. You have control over what you put in your mouth and you have control over what you have access to. So yes, you did let yourself down, okay? It's true, it does happen, okay? I'm not gonna be a complete asshole because obviously I have had days where I've just completely fucked up. But at the end of the day, if you want to change your life, if you want to change where you're going, if you want to change your body and your health and the way that it looks, you have to chip at it day by day. As I mentioned earlier, you have to make the changes and you have to consistently work on it. it's not all gonna be roses. It's not gonna be that easy. There's days where it's not easy for me. For example, I'm getting my period in a couple days, guys. I was in a bad mood earlier today. Maybe that's coming out through the way that I'm talking in this video. I felt like, oh, I would just, love to just put on some comfy pants and have like a bowl of cereal and maybe have some other snacks. But I'm not gonna do that because my goal is very strong in my head and in my heart. I know that what I want. And if I'm really, really gonna decide that I'm going to make an excuse or make a concession for giving into what my PMS is doing for me, I'm gonna have to find a way to make sure, okay, like how can I make this exception acceptable to me? Am I gonna accept the reason why I decided to stop my current process, stop myself in my current tracks? So I have one more thing I wanna say, and it's about the universe. There are times where I have wanted to say fuck it, and I've done it many times. Actually, I've done it many times. And I would just want to go back to old practices. And trust me, I did a lot of this last year, a lot of it, because I wasn't ready, okay? I just wasn't ready for it at the time. But you know what? I already know now what the outcomes are gonna be with my old habits. They're all the same, because I've literally relived the same version of the story over and over and over and over and over and over again. I have no idea right now what the universe holds for me and what it has in store for me this year by following this protocol to a T as much as possible, obviously with my given concessions. And what's gonna come of it by me practicing this lifestyle. So am I gonna be overly strict? As I just said to you, no, because I'm gonna allow for some concessions along the way, for sure. Future trips with Peter and his kids, if there's a wedding or when we have our special anniversary or a trip or something, or for example, I'm doing ayahuasca in April and I have to go to a 1 meal a day routine instead, which I'll talk to you guys about at some point later. But when I make the exception, it's gonna be something that is worth it for me. And that will be the exception and not the rule. That's all that I have for you. Please make sure that you hit the like button, and in the comment section below, I'm interested to hear if you think that what I'm saying is totally off base or you agree with it, if you agree with it. But thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.